squad, it's quads, and you join me in the field. Now, normally I'd be doing an unboxing inside the studio, but I thought today I would mix it up a little bit. We've not got long left of the summer, so why not take advantage of it? Now, I'm just putting my gloves on. Unfortunately, I've just touched dog poo, so sort of after the horse has bolted. But I'm going to put them on because it looks a little bit more professional on camera. And I guess I should start the camera rolling. So today you join me in the field. I am reviewing the kit sent to me by Betafpv. This is the AQUILA 16 FPV kit. It was sent to me by Betafpv. No money's changed hands. I've got nothing that they expect me to say, and they won't see this review before you do. Now then, before we start the review, the most important thing that I must add to this review is we do have Red Bull. Onwards. So, as we open it up, we can see it comes in another box inside, and then inside that box we've got a carry case. So if you have a look inside this carry case, this is what you're getting. So you've got your instructions, you've got your goggles, you've got props, you've got a new design of the Betafpv controller compared to the Cetus kit, with physical metal buttons instead of those potentiometers. You've got the goggles there again in black, look very similar to the Cetus kit. You've got a charger, you've got cables, and then here we've got the AQUILA itself. Now, if I then just, I'm not going to put the battery all the way in, because once I do, it powers it all up. Probably have to actually. But once that is together, it does actually look a little bit like a mini avatar from DJI. It's not, but it looks like it.
Odds from the future here. I just need to explain what this is all about. So after the first flight, I had a few issues with the quad flipping backwards, sort of flying backwards. And I reached out to Betafpv and asked what this was about. Was it a fault, or you know, what was going on? Ultimately, what Betafpv said to me is I was flying it like a pro, basically. And this is a kit that is designed for beginners to fly slowly, smoothly, and precisely. Now, I was doing flips, tricks, rolls, the works. Betafpv said, don't do that. It's designed to be flown as a cinematic quad. So I'm going to leave the next in the video to show you some details about the manual and stuff, because I think it's really important. But ultimately, once I'd received that information from them, as we can see in the preceding flight, there are no problems, and the quad flies really well. So we'll come back to the studio in the future shortly, but let's get back out to the field and have a look at the manual. But now you understand the reason why we're doing that.
Over a can of Red Bull, not sponsored, and the instruction manual, which is not something I would normally read. So it's quite detailed. It tells you about the flight operations. So to arm the quadcopter, we press SA, which is this one, which is what we have been doing. Obviously that raises a throttle on the quadcopter. Tells us about the joystick movements, so we know about all them. Disconnect transmitter, so land, obviously SA to disarm. Right, switch modes. So SA, which is that one, is arm and disarm. SB, which is that one. The flight mode is normal if the switch is down. Sport mode in the middle and manual mode at the top. So we want it in manual mode, that's where we had it. And then switch SC, which is the top one. Low gear if it's down. Middle gear is fast. So middle gear is middle. and up is fast. So again, that's what we want it. And then SD switches the VTX frequency, which is why when I pressed it, it decided to go off. So we've got it set up properly. I'm just wondering why it was flying as weirdly as it was. So there's no reason. So we've set up, now we've got that's manual mode, that's fast mode, and obviously that's for, so we're all set up, they're all set up exactly right. I've just hit the tripod. I guess we'll just try again, but it was a bit odd, to be honest. But we'll go again, because that's what we're here for. So, any newbies watching, always power on your transmitter first. So we're on, wait for the blue light. It's really, really bright out here today. It's probably one of the hottest days of the year so far, and it's September. So to plug the battery in, you just slide it in. We'll put that there. We'll get the DJI action camera recording the takeoff. I'm just going to grab the goggles, power them on, and hit record. Now you know you're recording if the little red dot in the top left hand corner is on. These are LIHV batteries, so they charge to 4.35. Mine's on 4.29. So we'll arm, wait a second, motor's arm. Oh, that was unfortunate. Let's try again. So, we'll punch up a little bit before we take off. And we're gone. And actually, we seem to be flying okay now. We've got a decent signal around the tree. Let's go underneath the tree and see what the signal's like. Now, it is obviously analog. Okay, that's a really good signal under the tree. So, for anybody who doesn't know, my son, Little Wonder FPV, has just started flying FPV. He's on his third day of flying FPV, and he's complaining already that he wants digital because analog is no good. Kids say. However, I'm getting very little breakup with this, so he can have this and be done with it. Obviously that's not true. Once he learns to fly, he can have digital. Of course he can. And to be fair, he has actually flown my digital already and absolutely loves it. But there is nothing better to learn on than analog. There really isn't. So this is actually really well controlled. Now the goggles I think are beeping at me because we've got sort of low voltage, so we'll just do.
So who is this kit for, and who can we recommend it for? I think ultimately it is a brilliant kit where you get everything you need. You get 2 sets of batteries, you get goggles, you get controller, everything's matched, everything's set up. It is aimed at getting you into FPV. It's really aimed at the C-X crew. Now, one of the first reviews I did earlier on in the year was of the C-X, and I described it almost as a gateway drug into FPV. And I think this is very similar. It flies really, really well, and it's aimed at those newbie pilots who are not going to want to instantly start throwing it off a cliff edge and doing power loops through a tree. They want to learn about flight, about the basics of flight, about the enjoyment of flight, and about the thrill of flight. And this kit gets them in the air. Now, I've got an acquaintance who really wants to fly FPV. They fly a camera drone. They've tried to get into FPV a few times, and one of the biggest barriers that they have is they just can't control their altitude, and they would
ultimately benefit from a kit like this because this kit has altitude hold, so you can press a button and the drone will just sit there in the air. You don't then need to control the altitude yourself, and that's one thing that this person is struggling with. And like I say, I do know that they want to get into FPV to do all the cool things I'm doing. So I'm going to recommend this kit to them as a total newbie to FPV who hasn't really got the dexterity to have that throttle control yet. And what that will do is that will introduce the joy and the fun of flight to them. And by introducing the joy and the fun of flight to them, they will be able to do all of the basic controls that they need to do to get the drone from one place to another, to feel what it's like to fly FPV. And then once they've done that, they can then look at potentially, okay, let's turn off this altitude hold and let's put everything together that we've learned and let's learn how to control our altitude. And then once you've done that, they can move on to something else. But the great thing is they can keep the controller because it's ELRS, they can keep the goggles because they're analog goggles, and they can get themselves a proper FPV freestyle quad, be it an Betafpv Air65 or an Air75 or whatever. You've then got a fully capable FPV drone that you can use all the rest of the kit with. So this is again 100% another gateway drug into FPV at a really cheap price. Now it's coming up to Christmas. First of all, let me just stop there and thank our members. In no particular order, we have got Dizzy Dean FPV, Mark Duplex, Barry Morgan FPV, Only Drones, Han Solo, Not Here, Phil Anderson, and James the Third. They start from $1.99 a month. If you want your name shared out in the videos, go join. If I haven't earned that from you, that's fine. But please hit the bell icon. We are moving into all sorts of things RC. We're moving into RC helicopters. We're moving into RC cars, RC trucks, FPV helicopters. You name it, you're not going to want to miss it. So make sure that bell icon is selected so that you are notified the next time we upload a video. It is about to get absolutely wild. So the final question, as always, is should you buy it? And ultimately, this is a brilliant gateway drug just before Christmas. Who doesn't need a gateway drug just before Christmas? See, the Betafpv AQUILA kit is a fabulous kit to get you into FPV. You've got a brilliant radio, which can be reprogrammed for other quads. You've got a pair of analog goggles, which again, while not the best, and I will always review these kits as they come in because so many other reviewers will review them using their own $500 goggles, which really does make the point of a kit like this quite pointless. So I will always use the kit that comes out and give you an honest opinion. Now, the goggles are not the best goggles in the world. However, they will do a job. They will get you into FPV, and it will be a while before you need or you feel the need to upgrade. So what you can do is you can use the controller for as long as you want. You can use it in the simulator. You can use the goggles. You can move on to a different quad, an Air65, an Air64. Yeah, potentially you could even use it for an analog Pavo 20. I don't know if they do that, but that's a beauty with FPV. Once you are into the ecosystem, you can use what you've got to expand on what you want to have. I wouldn't recommend this kit to anybody who's been in FPV for a while, that's already got goggles, that's already got a controller, and that's already able to freestyle, for instance. For everybody else that doesn't have a $500 pair of goggles, that doesn't have a top of the range DJI 03 or 04 drone, then absolutely this is a kit that I would recommend for kids, adults and grandpas this Christmas. And speaking of Christmas, you need some ND filters for your brand new DJI Mavic 4 this Christmas. Click on this video now to find out why.